Is Texas A&M's matchup with Missouri and Kyle Field the game that will define the season for the Aggies?
You are Locked On Aggies, your daily podcast on the Texas A&M Aggies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into Locked On Aggies. I'm your host, Andrew Stefaniak. Thanks for making Locked On Aggies your first listen every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Nissan. Are you the kind of driver that likes to push things a little further? Ever wonder what adventure could be around the next corner? Take the Nissan Rogue, Nissan Pathfinder, or Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure. Check them all out today at nissanusa.com. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are going to discuss an article written by 24/7 Sports that listed the season-defining game for each SEC team. Texas A&M is a few other teams' season-defining game, and the 24/7 Sports list Missouri as the season-defining game for the Aggies. Let's get into this. I don't think Missouri is the season-defining game for Texas A&M, and I'm going to tell you why. The games on the road that are tough. I mean, let's run through the schedule one more time. I like to go through it. So, Notre Dame at home, McNeese at home, at Florida, Bowling Green at home, Arkansas, or Bowling Green, at home, Arkansas, neutral site, Missouri at home, at Mississippi State, LSU at home, at South Carolina, New Mexico State at home, at Auburn, Texas at home. That's the schedule. The two SEC games away from Kyle Field, and then, of course, the game against Arkansas is away from Kyle Field, but it's a neutral site. The two road games that I'm not concerned about are Mississippi State and South Carolina. The two games that I'm looking at and I'm circling are Auburn and Florida. And in all honesty, I think the matchup against Auburn on the road is the season-defining game for the Aggies. You know, when it comes to the games, all four of those games, if you want to get to 9 wins, if you want to get to 10 wins, the four tough games in Kyle Field, Notre Dame, Missouri, LSU, and Texas, are all huge games. In all honesty, I've got this weird feeling that LSU might be a more beatable team than Missouri. That's just a gut feeling right now. But I'm telling you, I just think all four of those games are Texas A&M won't be favored, more than likely, unless something changes, injuries, whatever. Texas A&M, as it projects right now, won't be favored in those games. We've discussed this. If you are able to take care of business in the 8 games that aren't those 4 games I discussed, you have to pull off one upset to win 9 football games. Simple as that. And in all honesty, if you take care of business against Florida and Auburn, I think you win 9 football games. I think there's a world where, hey, you drop one at Auburn, but you beat Notre Dame and LSU to get there, to get to that 9-win total. I think there's a world where, or vice versa, you lose to Florida instead of Auburn, whatever it is. But those are the two games. I think that I'm a little more concerned about Auburn than I am Florida. But playing in both of those venues is tough. Rowdy fans, loud stadiums, football teams. You got some talent on both rosters. I think Florida's ship is sinking more than Auburn's is. So, that's kind of my thoughts here. I think that Texas A&M's season-defining game is Auburn. Because I think that, let's say you were going to go that route. Let's say you were going to go the tough home game route for the season-defining game for Texas A&M. Then you could do Notre Dame, you could do LSU, you could do Missouri or Texas. I think all 4 of those games would really fit in there. I think that Texas A&M will, as I've said time and time again here at Locked On Aggies, as you everydayers know, the Aggies will win one of those 4 football games. I book that right now. I feel very confident that Texas A&M wins one of those 4 games at Kyle Field in front of the 12th man. Book that. Feel great about that. It's going to come down to those 2 road games. I'm serious. I don't see South Carolina or Mississippi State being an issue. I don't. Sandstorm, cool. Cowbell's great. Whatever. I don't. Those venues don't quite scare me like playing in Gainesville and playing in Jordan-Hare Stadium do. That's what scares me. So that's just my opinion here. So I think that if you are able to take care of business in those 8 games, your easy non-conference games, which would be McNeese, Bowling Green, and New Mexico, you take care of business there. You take care of business against South Carolina, Mississippi State, Auburn, Florida, and Arkansas. You should be favored in those games. Maybe Auburn or maybe Florida. That'll be interesting. That maybe that Florida game with being early in the year could be a pick'em. But more than likely, I think you're going to be the better football team in all 8 of those games, in my opinion. So if you take care of business there, which once again, it's SEC football. Mississippi State, South Carolina, this is not cakewalk wins. Arkansas, not cakewalk wins. It's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is if you do take care of business, which is possible. I mean, it is possible to win all 8 of those football games. You just have to pull off one upset. One upset. We're talking about that as an upset. I think Texas A&M is going to be a good team. I'm still taking those 4 teams over Texas A&M this year, but you pull off one of those upsets, whether it's Missouri, whether it's LSU, whether it's the Longhorns, or if it's Notre Dame, 9 wins is there. You pull off 2 of those upsets, 10 wins is there. The key to a successful first season under Mike Elko is winning at Florida and at Auburn, in my opinion, because if you do that, I think if you win those 2 games, you are locked in winning 8 games. Locked in. And then if you win one of those games at home, we're talking about 9 wins. So, and I know the schedule sets up nicely for Texas A&M. I know that's starting to become I've seen that more as a topic for the national media as well. Texas A&M's got a good schedule. I don't care if the schedule is, in using the word easy for the schedule isn't the right word. I've used it before. It's not the right word. It's a more manageable schedule. Easy implies that playing in Columbia, in Gainesville, in Auburn, in Starkville are easy things to do. No, it's never easy to win an SEC football game on the road. Don't care if it's Vandy. Don't care who it is. It's not easy to win on the road in this conference. So it's not an easy schedule. It's easier compared to, hey, you don't have to go to Athens and you don't have to go to Oxford. You know what I mean? You don't have to go play Texas on the road. This is what I'm talking about. So I do think that, as I said, I think that the season-defining game for Texas A&M is that matchup with Auburn, because I think that game's a little bit more challenging than Florida. I also think if Florida is able to get it going, it's going to be kind of later in the year rather than, the 3rd game of the season. And I also believe that, Auburn's got a lot of young talent coming in, a lot of 5-star freshmen. Those freshmen could kind of start to, develop more and more as the season goes on. In the end of the year is not when I want to play them, especially being the week before you match up with Texas for the revival of the Lone Star Showdown. So that's kind of my thought there. And then the 2 teams, Arkansas and Florida, 24/7 Sports listed Texas A&M as both of those teams' season-defining win or game. I could have predicted Florida for sure because, as I said, that's probably Florida's most gettable SEC game, in my opinion, with it being at home. Florida's schedule is a gauntlet, so they're going to come out hungry in that football game. They want that one bad. They need that one bad. So that's what scares me about that game too, is I think Florida knows they need it. They know they need that one. If they lose that one, they seriously could win one game. That's what they're looking at here. So Florida's going to want it. Same thing for Arkansas. They've got a tough schedule. Sam Pittman's going to want that game. His job's on the line. Both of these coaches are probably the 2 coaches on the hot seat more so than anybody in the conference. So they want those wins bad, and you need to make sure you go and you take care of business. So that is my thought on the season-defining game for the Aggies. It is the matchup with the Auburn Tigers, not the Missouri Tigers. But let me know in the YouTube comments, do you disagree? Do you think it's a different game? Is it Florida? Is it Missouri? Is it LSU? Is it Texas? Some might say Texas, and I'm not going to argue with you on that because I agree with you. But let me know in the comments, what is the most season-defining game for the Aggies in 2024? Let me know that in the YouTube comments. Now we're going to talk a little bit about something CBS Sports had to say about Conner Weigman and the biggest question mark for the Aggies heading into the spring. We will have that conversation coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, I want to tell you about our friends over at Manscaped. This episode is brought to you by the spring cleaning champions, Manscaped. This season, make sure to groom your carpets and the drapes with the leaders in below-the-waist grooming. Clear out the winter bush with Manscaped. Lawnmower 5.0 and watch your confidence bloom like the springtime flowers. Embrace the season and join the 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with our special offer. Go to manscaped.com and use code LOCKEDON for 20% off plus free shipping. You know, Manscaped is the best. You know, I'm trying to figure out a beard here myself, and it's really precision. I love the way it cuts. I've had many different brands of face shaving equipment for years and years and years, and nothing compares to Manscaped. You got to go check them out. Get 20% off and free shipping with code LOCKEDON at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code LOCKEDON at manscaped.com. Nothing like a little spring cleaning in your pants. Also want to tell you about our friends over at Better Together. Bracket busted, but want to stay in the game? Introducing Better Together, the first cooperative daily fantasy platform where teamwork triumphs talent and you can play with your friends, not against them. Pick more or less on a real-time player stat, strategize with your partner to boost your odds and climb the leaderboard together. So grab a friend and join the social DFS movement. Better Together is the first cooperative daily fantasy application. It provides a sense of camaraderie and enhances the social experience of watching sports. Makes you realize DFS is fun alone, but like a lot of other things, it's better with your buddies. It's a way to stay connected with friends when you can't watch sports together in person, and it puts the group chat to the test. We all have that group chat of our buddies that we send our pick'em entries, our bets, and hey, why not just do it together on Better Together? Download Better Together now from the App Store and sign up using promo code LOCKEDON for a free $5 entry into any NCAA basketball contest. Play with me in a contest on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. Remember the code LOCKEDON because winning alone is fun, but it's better together. So, want to read a blurb from CBS Sports. So they put out their biggest question mark for each SEC team heading into spring. And I don't disagree with them, but I would argue that something else is more important. So let's go through what their biggest concern is, or biggest question mark is, for Texas A&M during the spring. So in bold, it says, can Conner Weigman bounce back? Which is an interesting title. We'll get into that. Through his relatively brief playing time in his first two collegiate seasons, Weigman has looked like the answer at quarterback for a Texas A&M offense that largely failed to register above average under former coach Jimbo Fisher. He started in 4 games as a freshman in 2022 and threw for 896 yards and 8 touchdowns. Taking the offense by the reins and winning the full-time starting job as a sophomore, he got off to a scorching start with 979 yards and 8 touchdowns before a foot injury cut his year short after just 4 games. The ailment required surgery, and new coach Mike Elko is taking a cautious approach with Weigman during the spring. His health is of the utmost importance for the Aggies, who lack quality options outside of Weigman following Max Johnson's transfer to North Carolina. That's where I have a problem. Though his limited, Weigman could ride a strong spring into a 2024 campaign in which he has the potential to emerge as one of the best signal callers in America. I couldn't agree more with potentially emerge as one of the best signal callers in America. Agree. But this point is is not right, ladies and gentlemen. It is not right. Let me read this one more time. His health is of the utmost importance for the Aggies. That's true. Who lack quality options outside of Weigman following Max Johnson's transfer to North Carolina. I'm not going to sit here and say that CBS Sports isn't doing their research because that's not true. I'm not going to call it a publication. It's a great article. Really did enjoy reading this for all the SEC teams. It's a great way to learn about these teams, but that's not true. It is not right. Texas A&M has two solid options behind Conner Weigman at quarterback. While I think Conner Weigman is the better option, and he will be the starter for the Aggies this season, the backups behind him are incredible young quarterbacks. Jalen Henderson, Marcel Reed, both could start at a handful of other Power 5 schools. I think a couple SEC schools. I mean, seriously, I'm Vandy, Mississippi State, maybe South Carolina. There's a handful of SEC schools that those two guys could start at right this second. So that's just not accurate, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, we want to see Conner Weigman stay healthy. Texas A&M year in and year out has had QB1 go down with an injury. It seems like since I was born. I mean, that just feels like the reality here. But the hope, as it was last year, as it will be this year, and it will be next year, QB1 needs to stay healthy. Assuming, as I am, that's Conner Weigman, he's got to stay on the field. But if for some reason he does get banged up, the two guys you got behind him are incredible options. There are not – I would love to hear about a better two backups, in college football that have, been on the field and done some things. Marcel Reed, not a ton. I get it. It's one game. Jalen Henderson, a handful of games. But it's the eyeball test, ladies and gentlemen. It's a real thing. The eyeball test, these two quarterbacks pass it. They can run with the football. They can throw the football. High upside quarterbacks. So that is not true. That is not true. I disagree with that heavily. But I do agree with what they're saying about Conner Weigman staying healthy is huge for this team. I don't want to have to see Marcel Reed or Jalen Henderson. Let's call a spade a spade. While I think they're great backup quarterbacks in this conference, I want Conner Weigman playing quarterback for the Texas A&M Aggies next season. That's who we want. So they're right about that. He needs to use spring, use this summer, get healthy, throw these receivers, learn the system, get himself ready to rock and roll for the start of the 2024 season. So that's just, I agree. Now, I think that in all honesty, I would have talked about offensive line play or secondary play as the question for Texas A&M in the spring. Before I talked about Conner Weigman, I know that his sample size isn't massive, but I do believe his sample size is large enough to know what you got. You know what I mean? So that's kind of my take there. I do think that we know what Colin Klein can do as an offensive coordinator. So I feel pretty good knowing that I feel pretty good about the quarterback situation. I'm not concerned there at all. Texas A&M has concerns heading into 2024, heading into the 2024 season, but the quarterback position is not one of those concerns for me, and I don't think it should be a concern for anyone, any Texas A&M fan. You got three guys who can start and who can win football games. I really do, and this might sound crazy. While Weigman gives you the higher, while Conner Weigman gives you the highest upside, I also do believe that you can win 8-9 football games with Marcel Reed or Jalen Henderson. Call me crazy. I don't care. That's how talented these guys are. It's the eyeball test, ladies and gentlemen. They passed the eyeball test. They played against quality opponents. They weren't playing against, a random school. They're playing against serious competition. These two guys did, and then they looked great. So Texas A&M's quarterback comes in a good spot. I would have argued, well, like I said, hey, maybe offensive line, maybe it's the secondary. That's what I would have probably, if I was writing this article, that's the direction I would have gone. But I do think that this is probably a fair third point and a third thing to monitor if you are, a Texas A&M fan getting ready for the spring game and the upcoming season. So if you disagree with that being the biggest question mark for Texas A&M heading into this, in the spring, what is the biggest question mark? Let me know what y'all think it is in the comments, whether it's one of the two things I said, O-line or secondary, or if it's what CBS Sports said about Conner Weigman. Let me know that in the comments. Now, we're going to talk about the Aggies getting the win over the Auburn Tigers to open up the series. Huge win, momentum. Let's rock and roll. We'll talk about it coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, I want to tell you about our friends over at Nissan. This week's March Madness bracket highlight is brought to you by Nissan. Each week, we're picking one team that stands out, a team that's pushed it further than the rest, just like any of the all-new 2024 Nissan SUVs. These guys were able to take it to the next level. The NC State Wolfpack are obviously this week's Nissan Rogue. The team absolutely surprised us all with a powerful performance in their first two games in the tournament. With wins over Texas Tech and Oakland, they have set themselves up to play Marquette in the Sweet 16. They say win life, go rogue, and that's exactly what the Wolfpack did, and they are ready to rock and roll for a berth, potentially in the Elite Eight. Take the Nissan Rogue, Nissan Pathfinder, or Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure. Shop NissanUSA.com today. Ladies and gentlemen, the Aggies get the win over the Auburn Tigers. And I'll tell you, when the Auburn player hit that 3-run home run, I was sitting here, it was great. I had the Auburn A&M baseball game on the TV, and then I had the basketball games up top. It was I have a 2 TV setup going on in the house. It's really exciting. But when that dude hit that home run to make it 3-3, I didn't love that. I didn't love the pitch. I didn't love, there was just one of those, you'd like that back. You know what I mean? Same with the home run that Irish kid hit late in the game. That's a pitch you want back. But you get the 9-7 win. I love that. I want to pull up the inning by inning. I think they posted here because I'm pretty sure Texas A&M did a good job of getting punched in the mouth. And then what do? You punch back. That is always a huge thing. Like right when Auburn hit that 3-run home run to tie the game, I believe you went and scored 3 in the bottom of that inning to make it a 6-3 game. So let me double check that. But I love that. I love in baseball, not baseball, in all sports, momentum is a real thing. When you face momentum and you give it to the other team, they get a 3-run homer like that. I believe it was a 2-strike home run. You need to get momentum back. And that's, yep, I got it exactly. That's exactly what Texas A&M did. The Aggies scored 2 runs in the bottom of the first. They score 1 run in the bottom of the third. Auburn ties it in the top of the fourth, 3-3 ball game. Texas A&M puts up 3 runs in the bottom. And I loved it. You didn't even have to really swing the bats. It was just walks, hit by pitch. Auburn was doing exactly what I gripe on this show every single day about Texas A&M not doing. You get 3 runs there, and then what happens again? Auburn gets 3 runs in the top of the 6th inning to tie the ball game. And what do? You score 3 runs in the bottom of the inning to give you a 3-run advantage once again. I love seeing that. That is exactly what you want. I mean, that is going to make a coach just smile. You know what I mean? I mean, that's going to make Coach Sloss just smile all night because they punch you and you punch right back. You don't take the punch and let them gain momentum. You take the punch and you punch right back and you get runs. I love that. So Grohovac was 3 of 5 in this game with an RBI. Lavalette 2 of 4 with an RBI. Montgomery had a 2-run homer. Shot was 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs. The bats were swinging. Let me see how many total hits. You had 10 hits in this game. You did have 2 errors, and they were ugly. And those errors are what led to some Auburn runs when you had the bases full of Auburn Tigers, and a couple errors, couple ugly plays lead to a couple runs for the Auburn Tigers. Kind of kept them in this game, let them back in this ball game. So clean it up there. I think Texas A&M's done a good job fielding the baseball so far this season. But a few ugly plays, almost letting an SEC team back in this ball game. You did a good job getting the lead back, but just something to pay attention to. And it's going to happen. You're going to kick the ball around here and there. Don't let it beat you. Texas A&M did a good job, made some mistakes, but they didn't let it beat them. Pitching staff, Prager goes 4 1/3, 3 earned runs, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. And then Eschenbeck goes 4 innings, 1 earned run, 1 mistake. It was a bomb from Irish, and he did not miss that one. So it was a really good job by the. I was really impressed with the staff today. You had your guys make some mistakes. You had you had a couple guys, your fielders make some mistakes, but you're still able to lock it down, get the win. Let me see, 2 total base on balls. I can live with that. 8 strikeouts. We'll take it. So, I'm pretty happy with this game. Auburn is a better baseball team than the record shows. So this is huge. Use this. Winning game 1 is everything. You win game 1, you put yourself in an incredible position to win a series, and you put yourself with a real chance to sweep a series. Obviously, you can't get a sweep if you don't win game 1, and it is hard to win a series when you lose game 1. The Aggies have put themselves in a great spot to win their second straight SEC series at home. Win tomorrow, and hey, win this series and go for a sweep the following day. That's going to do it for this week here at Locked On Aggies. Hope everybody has a great Friday. Hope everybody has an outstanding weekend. Really appreciate y'all being here every single day. It means a lot. Everybody have a great weekend, and we will see you on Monday.